Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Southwest Virginia fishing report with Matt Reilly. How you doing, Matt?
Doing good, Marvin. How are you?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. And from watching your Instagram feed, you've been whacking them pretty good on the pre-spawn smallies.
We've been doing pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely been riding that roller coaster. Chasing warm water and more or less just kind of believing in what we're doing and putting a lot of nice fish in the boat. So it's been a good spring so far.
Yeah, and it's been kind of an interesting spring. It reminds me a lot more of what I remember spring being like as a kid. But, it's been cooler than it has been in the past, and it's been a little bit drier. But you're getting ready to we've had a warm up, you're cooling off again, and you've got some precipitation in the forecast. What should folks expect to see on the water?
Yeah. We are supposed to get a little bit of cool off. Nothing crazy. I think tomorrow morning we're starting out in the upper 30s or low 40s, but should certainly warm up pretty quick to the 60s to 70s. And that's about what we're going to be seeing for the next week or so. And then, we've probably got 1.5 inches or so of rain forecasted for 5 days or so starting this weekend. The totals and the predictions are low enough to where I, would not be surprised if we don't get all of that. And fingers crossed if we do, it's widespread and light enough to not just torrentially blow things out, which I don't foresee happening, but that's the hope. Everything is for the spring season pretty low to average in terms of stream flow right now. So I would not be too scared of rain in the forecast, frankly. I would kind of embrace it. At times, particularly right after the spawn kicks off, some of those post-spawn females can be a little bit weird and moody, and sometimes having some cloudy days and some rain and maybe a little bit of extra stream flow can help change that demeanor a little bit. So I wouldn't be too scared of it.
Got it. And so from a tip and tactics perspective, what should folks expect to try?
I would still be, rolling with some sort of bait fish, streamer imitation. That's going to be, pretty standard on most of our waters for the next, month or so. It's possible we get into some topwater action. Actually caught a couple on topwater already this year, just where we've had some really low, warm for the season water. But yeah, I would lean heavily on the streamers and, fishing, like I said, sometimes, you get a little bit of this kind of uninspired attitude from post-spawn fish right after the bulk of the spawn kicks off, which it did several days ago. So I would maybe dial back, fish slow. I mean, that goes for smallmouth fishing in general, but when in doubt, if nothing's going on, definitely slow it down a little bit and see what happens.
Got it. And that flows really well into a question from Andy. Andy wanted to know, how do you know when it's time to transition from streamers and crayfish to topwater flies and poppers for smallmouth?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I'll try not to ramble on for too long. But there's a couple of things here. One, I tend to think there's, just about any kind of presentation in fishing, there's three main factors that go into it. You have water clarity, you have water height, and you have water temperature. For the most part, you need about two of those in your favor for decent topwater fishing. So you can have warm water and clear water. And if it's real high, you can still catch fish on topwater. we've done pretty well certain days, with real high water that's dirty, that's warm in the summertime, catching fish close to the banks, etc. Also, early in the spring, sub 60-degree water temperatures. So like think 55, 56-degree water temperatures, but the water's real low and it's real clear. And so if you're fishing a shallow river that's on average, 3-4 feet deep, you can catch a fish on top water because it's, you're not asking them to do a whole lot to come up a couple feet through the water column to eat on the surface. So those are things I would think about. The other part of that question is, why are you switching to topwater? So there's in my mind, two different genres of topwater fishing. You have sort of your aggressive, commotion-inducing topwater fishing with cup-face poppers, double barrel poppers, that kind of thing. And those kinds of presentations are generally not imitating insects. You're generally imitating something like a bait fish or a frog, or something that's struggling or running around on the surface. And then you have bug fishing, which we do a lot of in the summertime, which is a lot more passive, kind of finessey, and not super aggressive. And that kind of fishing does imitate bugs. So, for the former style, you can get away with that a lot earlier in the year just because, fish are reacting to bait fish type presentations. If you have lowish, clear water, you can get fish on top water that way. You could probably get them on a bug too if the water is real low and clear, just because smallmouth bass are opportunists. But on the other hand, those fish are not truly in a bug eating kind of mood until those bugs really start coming out in number. So, we have all kinds of different bugs. In fact, I pumped a smallmouth stomach last week that had a bunch of caddisflies, a bunch of bees. These are insects that the fish would have eaten off of the surface or very close to the surface. Bees are terrestrial. But for the most part, we're imitating things like blue damselflies, dragonflies earlier in the summer. And those bugs we're not going to see until probably sometime in June, on average, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And then certainly later in the summer, we'll start to see cicadas and stuff like that. So I would say, when do you know when to switch over? You can definitely try it if you have conditions that seem conducive, like I spoke about first. But if you're trying to bug fish, I would probably be waiting until I am seeing, surface activity, fish sipping things on the surface, or else seeing those bugs actually out and about.
Yeah, got it. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us. You can drop them in the comments on our social media posts. You can DM us on social media, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag, and we will enter a drawing for some cool stuff from Matt at the end of the season. And, Matt, I know your May and June are pretty booked up, but you want to let folks kind of know what you have available kind of in the bug season of the summer, and how to catch up with you and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Still got good number of July and September dates. About the second half of August is already booked. If you're looking for dates in that, prime topwater bug fishing time frame, definitely don't hesitate. I'll probably send an email blast out here soon, just to try to get people dates before they get taken. But feel free to reach out however you'd like. All my information is on my website, which is MattReillyFlyFishing.com. And look forward to hearing from you.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Matt.
Thanks, Marvin.